Hey guys, this is Jessica, and thank you for stopping by my channel. I'm a 37-year-old male to female transgender, and I want to talk to you today about my first week on HRT. Woo! So it really didn't take me that long to get on medication, although it felt like a long time. At first, I decided to go to the local hospital system and try and do their system, which was not informed consent, and that took forever. I did have to go get a psychologist note, so I went to a gender psychologist and I went about 7 different times. And I mean, it was good that I did talk to them and I was able to talk about my feelings and other issues regarding my transition. But at that point, after I was finished and I got an HRT letter, I gave it back to the hospital system. And then they had issues with the letter, and there was back and forth. And honestly, they still haven't even gotten that straightened out. I got fed up with the process, especially because once that letter was approved, wouldn't even be able to get an endocrinologist appointment until the about February. Right now it is mid-December, so I didn't really want to wait that long. So I decided to call Planned Parenthood, and I was able to get an appointment pretty quickly, within a week from when I called, and they were wonderful. When I went down there, they were very welcoming, and they were very knowledgeable about everything. And within the same day, I was able to get a prescription for HRT. I also want to note that I did have my blood work drawn already, so I came in locked and loaded, and I had a really fast pass to getting that. They really loved me because they didn't even have to draw any blood. All my levels were already there. It was really, really easy. But anybody else that would go down to Planned Parenthood, the only thing that would delay you getting your HRT prescription would really be the blood work. So that maybe just might be another few days until they get the results in of that, and then they could put you on. So I was able to get 50 milligrams of Spiro twice a day, and I also take 2 milligrams of estrogen twice a day. The first dose, I actually split in half. So in the morning, I take half of it, and then late afternoon, I take the other half of it. That way, I sort of have an even flow of estrogen running through the day, and I've been noticing really good effects. When I first started on it, the first time I took my pills, I got an immense panic attack. It was terrible. I've had a history of anxiety, and that definitely brought up my anxiety. I felt super panicked. I wasn't even feeling that good, and then I was taking a drive to my mother's house, and I just felt like immensely panicked. I couldn't breathe, and it was really not good. But that's just my body because I'm really, really sensitive to medications. Anytime I go on antibiotics, my body flips out, and it's totally a terrible experience. But at least I got used to it. So after about an hour, my body did calm down, and I started to feel okay on it. Within the next day, I started to feel much better. I still had a residual type of a wobbliness effect. I felt like I was on a cruise ship and I was just sort of wobbling back and forth a little bit. So I felt a little spaced out. So that was a little funky. So I took my first dose on Friday. By that Sunday, once I woke up on Sunday, I felt absolutely fantastic. I don't know if I felt so good I can't even remember when. Besides the fact that my dysphoria got chapped down a significant amount. I mean, my dysphoria was killing me. It was so powerful. It was debilitating, and it got lifted. It was just like a switch turned and boom, dysphoria went away mostly. My underlying sort of low-lying depression also pretty much vanished. And I was just sitting there that Sunday thinking, wow, I actually feel incredible. And it was such a strong change of mindset. It was incredible. I wasn't expecting anything close to that. I was really expecting or just hoping that it would just ease the dysphoria a little bit. That was my number one request from HRT. I mean, of course, all the physical aspects, yes, absolutely. But in the short term, I really was hoping the mental effects would calm the terrible dysphoria. But I was really fortunate, and apparently my body really likes the estrogen, and my mind just feels like it's sorted out. I also got a massive amount of like, or I should say, I was just very calm and relaxed. And I'm usually sort of a jittery type of a person. I'm always trying to do something. There's always this or that going on, and definitely a little bit ADD. But I was definitely calmed by it too. So not only did I feel good and my depression was pretty much gone, my ADD was also a little bit chopped down. And these were noticeable effects. This isn't something like I was just like, oh yeah, I'm starting a new medication. Maybe I'm going to have all these great effects. No, these are clear cut things that happened to me. And it was incredibly noticeable. I was completely blown away and very happy at the results. I mean, this was 2 days in. I couldn't have ever imagined it working that quickly. So here I am another week later, and I pretty much feel fantastic. Um, I have that same like very good feeling running throughout. Things don't bother me as much, and that's incredible. Um, Sometimes I get irritated by things, and I was always able to hold it well. I was always able to keep my composure very, very nicely. But inside, it was things ate away at me. But I'm able to let go of things a little bit easier. Some of the other effects was sort of an opening of my emotions a little bit. I found it a little bit easier to cry at things, both like happy and sad. And I actually like it. I sort of like the emotional depth and the fact that there's a little bit of a release. I felt like sometimes I felt emotional about something and I wouldn't be able to really let it out, especially because I'm sort of an empath too. So something like that, anything with emotions, I feel it sort of welling up in me, and it actually felt really good to be able to just let it go. So that I felt was a really positive effect. In terms of bodily effects, I already noticed a few different changes. Within the first few days, I had a lot of nipple sensitivity, and that did seem to go away within like 3 days. But in the first few days, they were pretty sensitive, and I was noticed definitely a little bit of puffing. I was surprised again because it was a very short period of time, uh, but I was getting a little bit of sensitivity. Other things that I noticed was that my smell has changed a little bit. I could definitely tell that my musky type of an odor has sort of switched to more of a sweet type of a smell. Um, and yeah, my girlfriend confirmed that too. She said that she noticed I always had, a manly type of a smell, but that sort of diminished. And she says you don't really smell like much at all anymore. I notice a slight sweet type of a smell, but it's definitely better. Other things I've noticed that within about 4 days, my skin completely dried up. I had oil wells on my face my entire life. I had acne up until I was 28, terrible acne, because I had such oily skin, and I took a lot of care in trying to keep the skin clean and washing and moisturizing and all that stuff. But I always just kept on having oily skin. So I was also surprised how fast that my skin dried up. On the fourth day, I noticed that on parts of my body I was even a little bit ashy. So places like my legs where I never really needed to moisturize before, I had to start doing that. Um, so that's okay though. I had a ton of moisturizer. I was sort of expecting that anyway, and I've just been using the moisturizer, and I think it's a better balance for my body anyways. The oily skin was just very hard to manage, so I'm sort of glad that that sort of evened out a little bit. I also I also uh, realized that my skin is the texture seems a little bit smoother. Not by much, but definitely a tad, little bit. And I think I had very textured skin and very like dotty skin, sort of like strawberry almost. And I anytime I had to do makeup, I had to work on filling up the pores and use Professional and all that other stuff to try and give myself a nice smooth appearance. So I feel like the makeup's going on a little bit easier, but I'm hoping for really smooth skin. That would be really nice. But we'll see in time. Again, it's only 1 week. And my other change, I had one other big one. My sex drive, that has changed significantly. I was always an incredible sexual person, and unfortunately, it was in my head all the time. And so it could get distracting, and I find that now I still am a sexual person, but I feel like I could turn it on and off a lot easier. I don't even think about it during the day, and only when I want to think about it, I can turn it on. And so I really like that because sometimes it's very distracting, and I don't feel the need to try and release or anything else. And I feel it's much more under control and it's much easier to manage. So I personally like that. I know some people said that their sex drive completely vanishes on HRT, so time will tell. I don't know. Again, I'm only in 1 week. One other really interesting um, type of effect that I noticed was I started gaining some fat on my hips, or I should say one hip. I noticed this morning that my right hip had actually a little curve to it. And for me, I've always had a completely straight body, absolutely straight. And I've never had any type of hip or curve. I started doing some exercises for my butt and for my hips a little while ago to start strengthening them up because I knew I wanted to sort of enlarge them a little bit. But I haven't really seen tons of gains at that point. I was also on a weight reduction diet for quite a long time. I was doing intermittent fasting for about 5 months, where I managed to drop about 15 pounds before I got on HRT and pretty much got on my goal weight. So I was pretty happy about that because I basically wanted to, once I got back on HRT, I wanted to sort of gain some weight. I know I wanted to gain some in my thighs and my hips and my butt, and some fat and some muscle. So you can't gain and lose at the same time. So it's sort of one or the other. So I was pretty glad I was able to sort of knock that weight off before I started HRT. I also heard that it's sometimes a little harder to lose if you're on HRT. Well, actually, that brings me to another thing. I also have noticed a pretty big weight drop this week. It was about 2 pounds, and I'm not sure if that's because of the Spiro. It definitely makes you want to pee a lot, and that's the biggest downside to the HRT so far is that the Spiro just makes you gotta go and go and go and go. So you gotta drink a lot and you gotta go a lot. So that's definitely the worst out of everything. Other than that, I've had a pretty miraculous effects within 1 week of taking the HRT, much better than I could ever have hoped for. So I'm really happy and really excited for all the changes ahead too. especially with a clear mind. My life is completely turned around now. I didn't really know what to expect from HRT. I was absolutely scared to see what was gonna happen, how I was gonna react. But things ended up pretty well, and I'm excited to see changes going forward. And I do plan on making lots of new videos to try and chronicle things that happen. And I'll probably try and do weekly updates and until things stop happening. I know it's pretty fresh, so my whole system's getting jump started right now. But yeah, I will start to record some new videos and I'll post them up. But yeah, guys, so this is Jessica. Thanks for watching my video. And if you like what you saw, please subscribe. Or if you have any questions, please comment below. And I'm happy to respond to anybody's questions. And until next time, bye, guys.